I am recording my observation. I may have to pause to think about what I'm going to say next, but I felt an overwhelming urge to record this and get this down. So, as you can see, my room is now tidy. So I've been sitting here thinking about my time jumping and the hows and whys, and because I have a brain that needs to try and understand everything that's happening in my surrounding. Human behaviour absolutely fascinates me. I study people and their behaviours and then try to figure out the whys and the wherefores and, that sort of thing, because I have had the sort of career most of my life where I've had to help people figure out their problems in one way, shape or form. And I like to have an answer for them, so I like to study things and figure things out. And I'm an autodidact, so I'm self-taught. Everything is self-taught. So I've been thinking about time travel. And I don't mean like in a time machine, I mean the way that I time travel, the way that I can jump timelines and eras and things like that now that I'm in the creation frequency. And it seems to be that the more the Schumann resonance has an effect on a physical being, like on a person, the slower time goes. When you are suffering from depression and stress and anxiety, I know when I was having my ascension and I was in the underworld stage, I was in that dark pit for about 10 days, but it felt like about 6 years. And everybody that I've helped through their ascension, when they go through the underworld stage, they usually find me just as they're entering the underworld stage. I can have them out of it within a day because I know what to do now. But people who suffer from depression age really quick. People who live below that Schumann resonance, who are affected by the Schumann resonance, their bodies, their cells in their bodies break down really quickly. And it's because I've been trying to figure out how does the activation of the vagus nerve de-age you? How is an underactive vagus nerve detrimental to your physical health? And it's all connected to your psychological state of mind. I've always said that when the mind goes, the body goes, the soul is sure to follow. But me, how? Why? But how? And it's like this. So if you imagine Earth, right? Just imagine Earth, the globe, right? And around Earth is a film of biomagnetic energy, like an embryonic sac, right? A sac around Earth, and below that sac, in like a pocket between actual physical Earth that you can touch, terra firma, and the sac is the biomagnetic frequency of the Schumann resonance, which I have always believed keeps gravity in place. Now, atoms, the consciousness inside an atom, I believe, is made up of time, gravity, momentum, magnetism with balance in the middle, and consciousness is the spark that creates it. When anything is below the Schumann resonance, it pulls down, it affects gravity. which then pulls down on organic cells and deteriorates it at quite a rapid rate, which is why creative empaths generally do not live past the age of 65. It is exceptionally rare to find a creative empath, like a proper true creative empath, not just someone who likes to do art or is a writer. You live and breathe your need to create. An empath, a creative empath, is someone who was born. We're like moths to a flame. We are born to create, and when we don't, it's almost like a death. When we can't express outwardly what is in us, it's like a slow, painful death. And because we live in a society where we aren't allowed to express ourselves, we are, we are we have the woke police now, where anything you say or do is going to be held against you. You can be, what's it called, doxied, you can be slandered, you can be shut down, fired, have your life completely torn to shreds by the woke society now, by censorship and all that, simply for expressing yourself. So it's becoming harder and harder for creative empaths to get out of them what is in them. So we hold it inside, because usually when we start out being creative, feeling the comfort to be able to express ourselves is around the age of puberty. And what we're expressing is seen by society as dark and twisted. Like we all have the kid in the back of the class that, is a bit odd and wears black clothing all the time and sits and draws, really dark, twisted things in a notepad and that. And then they're being judged as being psychopathic or, sociopathic, or that, they need to go on medication, that they have issues at home and, they need social welfare help and blah, blah, blah. Chances are they more than likely do have issues at home, but it's got nothing to do with why they're, why they are who they are. They are who they are because that's who they are. And in order for a creative empath to get out of them what's in, they need to express it. So if that child in the back of the class is drawing death and destruction and things like that, it's not necessarily because that's how they feel. It's because it's what they're absorbing around them and they need to get it out. And the only way they can express themselves is by drawing it. The other thing is that what I have also found is that a lot of the things that we start doing as teenagers becomes evident as adults as well. Because since I've had my memory wiped, so I could take on the memories of everybody else in order to time jump, what I have found is that the things that I remember now are the things that were overlooked because my life was so full of unnecessary, inconsequential thoughts and dramas and memories, and that when I cleared open the space in my mind, all the stuff that was left was all the stuff that ended up being the most critical, crucial parts of my spiritual development and my growth growing up. Because I'm starting to realise things now that I didn't remember before, but I remember now because I'm running around in an empty house with a few scattered bits of furniture in my mind, is that things I'm doing now, right now, things that I've been looking at right now that I thought were part of my ascension were things that I was already dealing with when I was a child. Things that I'm writing now and putting in my stories now. There's a ton of stuff in my book, Andre's Dragon, that I thought was events that were happening, over the last few years of when I was writing it. But it actually turns out, when I look back at it now, it's stuff that I was already thinking up and imagining when I was a child, because I've been writing kids' books and that since I was like a kid myself. How the Hedgehog Got His Spikes was the first one I ever wrote for my niece. I was a teenager. So yeah, and that's what I started realizing is that, and I've said it all along, we as children show ourselves how to be happy as adults, but society is the one that dictates when and how we should be happy, especially now at the moment. And we've stopped listening to the voices of our childhood. We've stopped listening to our childhood voice. Children are the closest thing you will find to God on earth, and animals and nature, obviously, the three keys. Children are the closest thing you will find to purity and innocence. They are literal walking earth angels. They are wiser, they are smarter, they are non-judgmental. If you find a child who is racist or a bigot or has, a political opinion, it's because it was indoctrinated, because you're not born this way, you're bred that way. So when you look at the innocence and purity of a child, they don't care what people think if they want to run around with towels on their head pretending to be princesses or anything like that. But there's always a message in a child of what we should be doing to be happy. But because we live in a society that would think we were odd, in our 30s and 40s running around with crowns on our head, pretending we were superheroes and stuff like that, we keep ourselves subjugated in order to fit in with society. And that begins the Schumann resonance pressure, because because we control our biomagnetic field, we control the density of the Schumann resonance that we stand under. We control the Schumann resonance. It can be controlled, I believe, by the Black Knight satellite, but that's neither here nor there. That's just theory. But because we are batteries, because we are energy, because we are light source, outside of our physical body, we control our biomagnetic frequency around us. So wherever we walk, our frequency goes with us, and we change the frequency depending on the people we're around, the attitude we have, the atmosphere that we're in, which is why when I do historical grief investigations, I know how to fix it by how my body feels. I will know because I have always maintained that we have more than 6 senses. We have like sense of humour, sense of security, sense of self, like that sort of thing. I've been tuned in now to such a high frequency with biomagnetic energy that I can walk into a place or walk next to a person and automatically know like their past, their pain, their sorrow, how to fix it, blah blah blah, and I am able to shift my energetic field to suit my surroundings in order to not only protect myself, but in order to do what needs to be done to either fix the situation or get out of it. And the only way anyone is ever going to beat a biomagnetic depressive state is by raising their vibration, which means you have to change everything about who you are, what you do, who you do it with, where you do it, what you put into your body, what you let out of your body, and you have to physically change the way that you think. By changing the way that you think, you raise the vibration. Now, the reason why I think that people who suffer from depression and live a negative life under the barrier of the Schumann resonance is because we are light beings, because without our physical vessel, we are an energy source. We are light within a consciousness kept inside a physical body. We are supposed to be in the creation frequency, and the only time we are in the creation frequency is when we're dead, asleep, daydreaming, in a coma, creating and in the zone, like that sort of thing. That's the only time a human being is ever has access to the creation frequency outside of having an ascension. because the Schumann resonance holds gravity in place when you're in the lower vibration, but you are a higher being, a higher light source. Gravity pulls down on the cells and keeps you bound to gravity. Whereas, if you've got gravity here and time is at the top, you've got momentum and magnetism, balance in the middle. Okay, so when the Schumann resonance is pushing gravity down, it's keeping you away from time. It keeps the distance between time and gravity. It furthers the distance between time and gravity. It stretches the distance between time and gravity apart. So it pulls down on the cells and deteriorates or degenerates the body or the cells, which then, most creative empaths either die from strokes, heart attacks, cancers, the effects of addiction, that sort of thing before the age of 65. But if you raise your vibration, if you push past the Schumann resonance, the time gap between gravity and time shortens, and then you can travel at the speed of light, so to speak, because it's a more natural part of us to be in light than in darkness. We are beings that are supposed to exist in time and not in gravity. Do you see what I mean? So the only way that you can ever achieve that creation frequency connection is by living an honest life, by being true to yourself, by keeping your vibration high. You can travel through time to the creation frequency. Once you are in the creation frequency, you have access to all time, and that's when you can time jump and time travel like me. But the thing is, the creation frequency can't lie. Everything about the creation frequency is the truth. So if you fake happiness, if you fake success, if you fake being in love, if you fake being superior, if anything about you is a front, if anything that you do that represents yourself to the universe is a lie, you will not have access to the creation frequency. You will be destroyed and pushed further down into the under the Schumann resonance, because you can only live an honest, true, authentic life in order to sit in the confines of time, because time itself can't lie. Time cannot lie. You can fake gravity, but you can't fake time. Time always knows the truth. Time exists only in truth. So if you have all these spiritual people claiming to be spiritual and have ascended, but they have massive bouts of depression, fits of anger, they're in debt, they're living nefarious lives or debauched lives or whatever that goes against the light that they are claiming to be in, that is when time and like time will have nothing to do with you. Time distances itself, because it can only exist in the highest frequency in order to evolve and manifest. It will never forget what you've done. Time will never forget the mistakes you've made, the wrongs you've done. Time doesn't forget, and time is a critical piece of how karma in the universe works. And so people who have ascensions, that's why ascensions are so brutal, because you are literally ripped away from everything you've ever known, and you go through like what I call a demagnetization stage. So a lot of people around you will think that you don't make any sense, and a lot of stuff you say or do will not make any sense, but it's part of the demagnetization process. And it's a lot of why teenagers and that have the the darkness or the moodiness that they have, it's because they're stepping out of being light beings into a world where they're now expected to be physical beings with, conscious awareness and social pressures and social expectation and familial expectation and stuff like that, that they start absorbing all that negativity and it comes out of them. But this is why with my North Star Studios and the Dragonarium, I'm desperate to get my hands on children at the puberty, prepubescent stage, because I know how to demagnetize them. I know what they're going through. I know that what they're getting out of them as part of the demagnetization process. They are trying to free themselves from the confines of the Schumann resonance that is keeping their light below gravity. And they're wanting to just be free and express themselves. And part of the ascension process is the freedom of expression. You need to get it out. When you go from the underworld, earth, fire, water, air, ether, creation frequency. When you're at the water to air stage or air to ether stage is when you start feeling the need to communicate and express what is in you out. You've gotten rid of enough of the people and the situations in your life where you're starting to feel more comfortable being expressive and, showing more of who you are and what you are. And that is because once you ascend, like as you're ascending, you'll keep ascending. So you might go from the underworld to the water stage and then have a setback that takes you back into the underworld stage. And then you'll rise above that and get to the air stage or the ether, and you'll just keep going down and back up. And it cycles like that, just like, how atoms spin like that. And you keep doing that until your bouts in the underworld are lesser and more frequent, until you don't end up having bouts in the underworld anymore. And once you stop having bouts in the underworld, then you've reached a creation frequency. I've just hit within the last, after I had my revelation when I said I went through my rapture, that I thought I was in the creation frequency that whole time and I wasn't. It's only been over the last couple of days when I had my confession and my revelation and hit the rapture. And now I get it, like now I see, like the last piece of the puzzle. Because it helps me know what to do more with the people who are ascending, especially when I'm around the children. My North Star Studios, I want it to be like a creative arts school for creative, empathic, inner city children. The ones who are the most silent, the ones who are silenced the loudest, are your underprivileged and inner city children. They're not allowed to have a voice. So my school, I've dreamed about this school for so many years, since like 2016 or something. I've been talking about this school, and these kids can come and they'll learn how to make movies. If they want to get into movies, they'll learn how to make video games if they want to get into video games. I've got artists and that from all around the world, some of the world's greatest, most respected video game makers, all willing to come and give their time to teach these kids how to make video games. And we're going to make the Quantum Menace, my video game, the Quantum Menace. And also the one that I've got based on the Dragonarium. I've got 2 games in mind. I've also got 5 apps that I want to bring out as well. And my team, when we're ready to go, will show these kids how to make these games, to see whether it's something they want to get into later on or whether they want to change what it is they do, but it's going to give them the experience. The same with movies and TV and that. I've got Hollywood cameramen friends who are willing to come and tutor these kids to show them how to make movies and that, because we're going to make the Quantum Menace movie. I want it to be like, well, I mean, it will be like that movie, Be Kind, Rewind. You know, the story of that, how the people were trying to save their town or whatever it was, so they made that movie, but they had no budget, so it was like sheets and cardboard cutouts and stuff. It's probably going to be like that, but the whole point is it keeps them off the streets, keeps them busy, shows them how to make movies, you know. The kids can make, you know, the art kids and that can make props for our performances at the Dragonarium and stuff. I've got all my team lined up, other than music. I need someone who's director in music, someone who can show the kids how to like produce their own albums and record their own albums and, you know, write music and, you know, stuff like that. I need like a music director and like someone who can produce music in that. The music is the only field that I don't have covered. But yeah, like I will let these kids express themselves any way that they feel the need to. I won't judge them if whatever they create is dark or twisted, because I understand the process. So I wanted to get that down because it was important for me to do it. Because now that I've recorded it as well, it's going to be locked and loaded in my head. So yeah, you can't have access to the creation frequency if every cell in your body is living a lie. So yeah, the more dishonest you are living, the faster you age, which is why people like presidents and prime ministers will start out their election looking young, and by the end of it they look old and hack it. It's because they have to lie so much. It's because they're living a lie, especially if the elections weren't honest ones, or the campaigns weren't honest, or they knew that when they were getting votes they were lying to the people in order to get the votes and stuff. So and why people who have ascensions de-age. So yeah, so I just thought I'd explain. It's just a theory, but what side of the resonance you're on does seem to have an outward effect on the stability of the regeneration of the cells.